all know of influential leaders in history. We all know Martin Luther King Jr., we all know Theodore Roosevelt, and we all know Barack Obama. All of their work has involved the U.S. We all know that there's many leaders that we don't know about, such as Patsy Mink. Her accomplishments on Title IX and the Early Childhood Education Act are her legacy. Like a tree's roots holding it in place during a hurricane, Patsy Mink stood her ground for what she believed in and became an influential leader. Patsy Mink was prominent because she was the first Asian American and person of color to be in the House of Representatives. She grew up in Maui and always stood out from the rest by being a walking gavel. She was elected into leadership positions like class president and valedictorian. From the National Women's History Museum, accessed on December 4th, she was a female leader in a time followed by men, being only the sixth woman in the House of Representatives. Patsy Mink was influential because of the work she did on Title IX. From the U.S. Board of Education, which was accessed last week, Title IX makes discrimination based on sex in schools that are funded by the government illegal. But Title IX helps athletes in particular. From 538, which is a news website, it says that Title IX essentially required school sports programs to offer equal opportunities to women. Schools now have women's and men's teams, but before 1972, there were very few sports that women could participate in because of sex discrimination. Patsy Mink was the primary author of Title IX. So when you look up to see an excerpt of Title IX, that is exactly her words. We always hear of so much legislation like Brown versus Board of Education and the 19th Amendment, but we never hear about the people who are behind that. Especially hearing for the first time that an Asian American wrote Title IX, which is an iconic law for women's rights, I was so excited to learn so much about her. Her leadership brought forth influential legislation since no one in government was so forward with the fact that women are not accepted into schools not because they didn't want to, but because they were being discriminated against. Patsy Mink was most known for her work on Title IX, but many people don't know her other accomplishments. Patsy Mink was introduced the Early Childhood Education Act. From K-12education.com, it says that the Early Childhood Education Act was introduced by Patsy Mink to give funding to schools from preschool to kindergarten. Some of us will have or have hung out with small children, and then we know of how important that early education is for them with socializing and learning about the world. Patsy Mink was the first to think and actively act on the crucial importance of early education for children and how they need to be prepared with for K through 12 teaching. Although the Early Childhood Education Act is various laws put together, she was the first to bring it to the table and say explicitly that children don't have access to early education, which is from K-12education.com. That site also says that the goal of the act is to provide a set number of services for children from birth to kindergarten. Unfortunately, nowadays, many kids still don't have access to that early education, mainly because of COVID, and it makes it really hard for guardians to pay and even find early education. In conclusion, Patsy Mink propelled progress with her persistent political passion. She used her knowledge of law and sense of justice to write laws that give better opportunities for all people in the U.S., especially women and young children. Patsy Mink is just one influential leader we never hear about, and I hope that someday she is discussed just as much as other influential leaders, such as Martin Luther King Jr., Theodore Roosevelt, and Barack Obama.